Alrighty, with me now, he is the CEO and founder of LBRY, which has come under some fire from the U.S. government. We'll talk about that too. He's also running for U.S. Senate. He is Jeremy Kaufman. Jeremy, are you ready to roar?
Yeah, it's great to be here with you, Marc.
Good to have you, brother. And a lot of stuff to talk about. I do want to discuss your Senate campaign, but actually, why don't we just get an update first? Because I know this is something you've been dealing with for a while. I'm not sure I even understand the full scope of this SEC lawsuit that you've been dealing with. Maybe you can break that down for us, and we'll kind of go from there. Give us an update.
Well, it's a big deal for cryptocurrency because what they're alleging in this case, which is a securities violation, they're saying that certain cryptocurrency transactions are securities transactions. The facts in this case would apply to the vast majority of blockchain companies, and so it's a big regulatory threat to the industry. So no victim in this case, and it's entirely a civil thing. So the SEC is just kind of making this up, and because they don't want to state the rules. My company, of course, wants to follow them, but it's very difficult to find out what they are. So it's a big deal. However, in terms of update, all that's been true for 4 years. In terms of updates, there's very little. We're finally, things are like coming to a bit of a head finally, but there's still like no news. It's all this filing back and forth. Like right now, there's all this back and forth arguing about whether this report that was issued by this expert is going to be allowed to be amended in response to this stuff. But like, it's nothing concrete. It's all just, very in the weeds, kind of not particularly even impactful. We have to get to that real meat. But that's the way these things go, unfortunately.
What is the actual claim insofar as like what rules you're violating? It has to do with issuing, like, basically, you'll explain it better than I will.
Yeah. So the Securities and Exchange Commission, they regulate securities, and they have a definition of securities. We could start going into Securities 101. It's this multi-pronged test. Interpreted broadly, you could argue that things like baseball cards are securities. And so you have this kind of subjective test as to, why are people buying this thing? What are they trying to do with it? So there's this test on whether or not something is a security. And so the SEC is arguing, the SEC believes that this applies to basically every cryptocurrency, that every cryptocurrency is a security. And if every cryptocurrency is a security, then it means that you have to trade them in certain ways. Exchanges have to be documented. There's much more regulation to them than if they're what I would suggest that many of them are is commodities, that they ought to be treated with the same sort of regulations as sort of a metal or some other sort of common thing that's traded. People may speculate in it, but they are buying it for a purpose, and that's ultimately what drives its value. And it's not an investment. It's not an investment in the way that a security is. Yeah.
But you know how this kind of came on their radar in the first place? Do you think it's just because they don't like that LBRY and Odysee are out there just kind of being this unregulated platform? It seems like you said, they could have picked anything. They probably could have picked baseball cards or comic books to go after. So what do you think is more of the actual reason that they're specifically going after you here?
Yeah, I don't think that helped us. I know the sort of political inclinations of the people that are, investigating us, and they have a lot of leeway, right? Like there's a certain group within the SEC that has chosen to go after us particularly. And I know enough about them that I know that they don't like what we're doing. In terms of how we came onto their radar, I actually don't think it was that. Like, I don't think that stuff helped us, right? Because they have been, a lot of people have said that they've been like unusually harsh in our case. Like they've been, because I haven't been, I can be a kind of ideological guy at times, but like I haven't been in this case. I don't run my businesses that way. Like I was very open and willing to settle, because it's really expensive. I mean, this thing has cost me a tremendous amount of money, both literally speaking, in terms of legal fees, as well as even more in opportunity costs. Yeah. It is, it's like having a scarlet letter. No one wants to touch you. No one wants to talk to you. It's a real blow to my company's ability to do business. So you're kind of guilty, even before anything is decided. As soon as it's known that the SEC is, no one wants to get touched by that. Everyone's scared of them. Everyone's terrified of them. So it's a very perverse incentive. It's a very terrible kind of thing that it creates for people. Everyone in the industry, we want to be doing productive work, and it makes it very hard.
Well, we will continue to monitor this for hopefully for not long, because I don't know how long this is gonna be this background thing that's just going on there, sort of hanging over you.
Within a couple of months, we will be through a very big phase, which is sort of summary judgment, and that will be once we're through that. That will be a step that no other cryptocurrency, no other case will have gone that far. So we're probably, it's a little bit unknown, but I would say less than 3 months.
So leading the way legally for better for worse here, I guess, on a lot of this stuff. No confirmation on whether the people investigating you have seen the War is Gay video or not yet. Are we aware of that?
I would like to believe that they have. They definitely monitor some of our stuff. I think they monitor I don't know how much they monitor mine. They certainly monitor the company's stuff. So we can troll them by being like, what do you want to say to the SEC, which we have done before. So,
well, that's a good segue into talking a little bit today about what your U.S. Senate campaign as a libertarian out of New Hampshire. And it's no secret I haven't exactly been the biggest cheerleader of Libertarian Party politics lately. But I will say, in my view, if you're going to do third party politics, if you're going to do something that's outside the system, so to speak, you may as well go as big, bold, and ridiculous as you possibly can. And that's pretty much what you did with that War is Gay video, which is just one of the most hilarious political ads, if you can call it a political ad, that I've ever seen. So why don't you just start with why you decided to run for Senate, and then we can get a little bit more into your messaging.
Sure. Honestly, part of it was to have some fun. I'm a serious person. There's some real things that I want to accomplish, right? Like I'm very committed to libertarianism. I live in New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project, and I really want to see liberty actually win. But I'm going to be honest, when I'm making the ads, that's not really working. That's not the same way. That's something that I'm getting some enjoyment out of doing. And so the Senate campaign, it's a serious thing, but it's also a chance to kind of do some things with libertarian messaging that I basically wanted to try. And so now we get to do that. And so hopefully it is having an impact, I think. I mean, I see the videos getting passed and shared around a lot. We did a new one, which just debuted at PortFest, the climate change one.
I've not seen that yet.
Oh, you haven't seen? Oh, man. So it's very good. I definitely recommend checking that one out. I also did a great troll of Elizabeth Warren with that one that got probably 100,000 views on that video alone, just replying to her on Twitter. That got to everyone of all persuasions, arguing about climate change, which I think is really a way to win their hearts and minds. No, a lot of people got it, because it's another satirical one, and a lot of people, most people were getting it. So, yeah, that part's been really fun. Yeah.
I know you've been at least somewhat involved with the Mises Caucus. How much of the fact that you're running as a libertarian right now is due to the Mises Caucus takeover? Do you think you'd even be able to, get that kind of support if that takeover hadn't completed, or have you been kind of around this area for so long that it was just kind of something that happened to be coinciding with it?
No, it's entirely because of them. And honestly, they were the ones leading the charge in New Hampshire, not me. I'm not it was all the other guys, that ended up on the XCOM and all of those guys that, were leading the Mises charge. And, I was kind of along for the ride, but I got involved with, some of the comm stuff, and they were all very supportive and encouraging of me to run. And truthfully, they had to persuade me a little bit. And having already done it and I'm very committed to it. In fact, I feel myself getting kind of more competitive about it day by day, because I am a competitive person. But I already am man, this is not great. Being a politician, it's honestly not a lot of fun. I already was pretty certain that I didn't want to be one. Making the ads is fun, but a bunch of the other stuff, it's it's not, I don't want to really be do all the things that a politician has to do. It's
what are some of
it's
those
not a fun
things
job.
what are some of those things you've had to do so far, just even in this early stage?
You face a lot of scrutiny. Like in my case, actually, it's like all the like so much drama, like within the LP, like all of the political drama. Like I guess it's like I like competition. I like competition in sports. I like competition in business, where I'm like competing on this product that I can, deliver. Um, Competing on to like how much, getting as many people as possible to like you personally, to like vote for you, and that kind of thing. It's not really what I want to spend my time doing. But I'm competitive, so I'm going to do it. We're going to do it, and I have been doing it. We've been doing all the events. Been going out on the street, and talking to people. Been doing been doing petitioning. Been doing a bunch of different things. We're going to be launching our sort of more on the ground type stuff as we're as we've been raising enough money to do more of these things.
When you say you're competitive and you're trying to compete, how much of that is like in the literal sense? Like, do you actually see yourself competing for this seat in the realistic sense of actually winning this election, or do you just want to get as many votes as you can? What is your metric then?
Winning is, so we win in a couple of ways. One is we really want to get to 4%. So getting to 4% does some very big things, including not making us waste time on ballot access the next time around. But it also lets us do some things that I honestly don't even want to get into in this show, but they're Justin O'Donnell's ideas, and they're
so I know they're pretty wild then.
No, they're very credible. He's good at this stuff. And basically with ballot access, we think that the Libertarian Party can then do some additional things to have some outsized impact at the state level. Okay. And so my race is kind of the vehicle for getting that done. Right. And if we can do that, we can then go on and do some other things. So that's a very real thing to accomplish. The other thing that I can do is impact the race between the Republican and the Democrat, force them to talk about me, force them to acknowledge issues that I want them to, acknowledge this kind of thing, and potentially get promises from them if I'm able to be attracting people to my side. If they're trying to peel people away from me and being forced to promise things, that kind of thing. So if you can have enough support that you're at least playing a kind of kingmaker role, you then are having an impact in the race because you can force things to be talked about what that base cares about.
And I know that at least out of all states, that like the Free State Project in New Hampshire has been pretty successful of getting some actually decent Republicans, I believe, in a decent number of statewide and local offices there in New Hampshire. So is there a reason besides just that the Mises Caucus came to you and you got more involved in the party? Is there like a strategic reason why it makes more sense for you to do this kind of campaign, other than the fact, I don't know if the Republicans would let you have that Warren Gay video, other than that, to do this campaign through like the Libertarian Party, as opposed to doing what some other free staters have done and trying to win a local office as a Republican? Or is this really just more about that 4% and trying to help the Libertarian Party get their foot in the door?
No, so everything I said is very big. I will give another reason, and I don't like to hide all my motivation. Sometimes people say Jeremy has like some ones he's not saying. Like I'll be very clear about this. I like advertising New Hampshire. It's a big part of why I do almost all of my libertarian activism actually is oriented towards that idea, because I believe this is the way the libertarians can really win, by concentrating in one state. I believe we are, winning, and this thing can accelerate, And so, yeah, absolutely. That is part of why I agreed to run, because I think, let's do things, let's make some noise, right? Because we're the best, and let's be loud. And so that's definitely part of it as well.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the seat? I believe it's an open seat that was held by, I think it was Maggie Hassan for a long time. And so now it's kind of an open seat in that sense. But do you have, because you're talking about, if you could kind of get some concessions from one candidate or the other, depending on how close that race is. So I'm curious, is there any projections for how close that race might actually
It's
be? I think we still don't even know the
yeah.
candidates.
So it's extremely close. So to me, the most worthwhile predictions to follow are not the polls, but the betting markets. I think the betting markets give you the best predictive odds, and the betting markets for the Senate race have D versus R at like 60-40 D. So
Wow.
it's like very close
No
to
matter,
1.
and that's generically,
Yeah,
because we don't
yeah,
even know who
that's
those
yeah, yeah,
candidates
yeah.
are
It's
yet.
Hassan versus the whoever would win the versus any R. Yeah.
Oh, so is it Hassan again running for that same seat? Maybe I mixed that up earlier, or is it
She's running again as the Democrat.
Okay,
She's a lock. I mean,
gotcha,
maybe I don't know if she technically has a primary, but she's 100%
gotcha.
a lock. Yeah.
And I'm sure you are very familiar with Bruce Fenton, who's running for that is actually in that same primary, in the Republican primary, running for that seat. I'm just curious if it turned out. Now I'm sure he's fighting an uphill battle of his own there, now within the Republican establishment there in New Hampshire. But would it change your perspective on running in that election if, say, someone like Bruce Fenton was the Republican candidate? Would you be more hesitant about wanting to make that difference, potentially even pulling away from that, were someone as good as him on a lot of issues, were he to be the candidate, or would you be kind of looking at this the exact same way no matter what?
Well, I don't know how I could really pull people away from Bruce, because I think there's very few things that Bruce and I, actually disagree on. So, maybe what I would do is I would look at, hey, why were there 100 people from the left, or several hundred people, I don't know how many, it was a bunch, protesting Hassan when she was declaring her candidacy because they didn't like Hassan's stance on immigration. Maybe I'd talk about immigration, a little bit more, or a lot more. Maybe all my mailers would target, the things that, libertarians are, sort of to the, I don't know if to the left is the right term, but, maybe change the way you talk about some things in a way that you're having the right kind of impact.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So would you ever foresee yourself if it was close? I mean, this is a dream scenario, really. This would be an amazing scenario, an amazing problem to have, I guess, if it looked like, say, someone like Bruce Fenton was like, polling at 50% or 49% or something, and Jeremy Kaufman is polling at 3 or 4. Would you consider doing something like, what, this is too real, guys. You guys should all go vote for Bruce Fenton, or would that not affect the way you were running your campaign?
Like,
granted, amazing scenario to happen.
Look, there is. I'm not. I sorry if this makes me like a bad libertarian, but like because I don't care. Like, this is the kind of stuff I'm like, I wasn't interested in dealing with this bullshit when I, with the Libertarian Party, because like, look, I know I'm unequivocally a libertarian. I know what what I care about. Some of this LP drama, like, I don't care. Bruce is great. I'm not going to say a negative word about Bruce. I'm not going to say, if Bruce can win the election, I'm not going to stop Bruce from winning. All right, like, we can get. I'm not going to go through like every hypothetical and like specifically what I would do, because I haven't thought through them all. But I have zero interest and will not stop Bruce Fenton from getting elected. Not going to happen.
Gotcha.
Okay, so
that couldn't be more clear, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit more about like your actual campaign and what you're trying to do with the messaging here. So let's just start with the War is Gay video, because when I saw that, I thought it was the funniest damn thing I ever saw in my life, and I think I probably watched it like 5 times the first time. So like, and I wasn't not even really in the this is going to be a great campaign sense, just in like, this is a hilarious video sense, the kind of thing that can just get people's attention outside of politics anyway. So why don't you start with that video? Where did the idea for that video come from, and maybe we can get into more of like how that ties into your messaging.
Yeah, well, a lot of the ad ideas were kind of brainstormed, relatively on the fly, and we thought that was one of the better ideas. So we did film that one earlier, and it came out, really well, and that was the first one, that we ended up releasing. But the idea, you see this theme in really all of them that have been released thus far, and I think they'll probably continue to be this way. And maybe just like saying they're all the same ruins it, but you're basically like you're taking a position and you're just like kind of like amplifying it, or doing it to its extreme, or doing it in an especially like blunt way, or things like this. And you can do it in a way that's funny, and it gives people. I think it makes it easier to share the ideas. It makes it easier, especially with anything that can be like dicey to talk about, I think using humor is a great way for there to be some kind of like, sort of additional safety in introducing or talking about it than, being this blunt and direct, kind of way. So yeah, I don't know. Now I'm just giving this like really serious answer. But like, why are jokes funny?
Well, that's
why is humor good?
Well, let me read you the 17 reasons mathematically why. I mean, it's funny because like even knowing, like obviously the first time I watched this, it's called War is Gay. I know it's not going to be serious, yet you still kind of suck. In the beginning, you kind of sucked me in. It's like, oh, this is going to be a very serious breakdown. Talking about you're about to show this family being blown up by U.S. bombs, and but it is too. Even though you are making a whole joke of, or the system is a joke of itself already, and you're kind of highlighting that more than anything. But you are still conveying, and even though you're talking about this diversity stuff, and that's what the real joke is, it still is layered over top a very serious issue that everybody in our circles are really passionate about. So it's not like it's not even delivering the message. It's delivering the message, but also doing it in this hilarious way.
Yes. Thank you. And a lot of credit to Dan Smots, of course. So much of the genius is his, with the construction.
I mean, if you need to make something gay, Dan's your guy. That's what I always say.
Just wait till you see our abortion ads, so.
Oh God, you're not joking either, are you?
We'll see. We don't release everything we film, so I can't promise anything.
I'm very much excited about that. So let's talk a little bit more about like how you can see. I'm frightened and excited about it. Let's just put it that way. If it doesn't get released, I'm gonna get some of the stuff from the cutting room floor. I have an inside line on Dan, but I have some blackmail stuff over him. But I'm curious, like how you see this, because I know your big passion is really, like you mentioned earlier, drawing more people into not just the ideas of liberty and libertarianism, but like the Free State Project and what's going on in New Hampshire, which is really just not a lot of it's outside the politics. Obviously, this is all kind of wrapped in politics in a way. But how do you see, or even how have you seen some of this stuff, like making this video, the War is Gay video, or some of the other messaging that you put out there, whether it's on Twitter or what have you? Do you see that as conditioning people to kind of accept like the liberty movement more, or do you actually see this as a way you could then say, hey, who is this guy anyway? Oh, Senate in New Hampshire, running for Senate in New Hampshire. What the hell's going on in New Hampshire? Like, how do you see this stuff correlating to people becoming more interested in your real passion here, which is the Free State Project?
Yeah. So, well, gosh, so there's a mix of things. I want to be clear. Like, there's not like one thing. There's not like, because there's a confluence of like beneficial things. So it might be that someone who is like into LP stuff, who, ends up finding me through them, ends up finding New Hampshire, that's the kind of thing, that could happen. The ads could also have the effect, I know that the War is Gay one in particular, was getting shared in conservative circles, because conservatives aren't funny, right? Yeah. So that's the libertarians need to come in here, okay? And we can steal them with our incredible sense of humor. And so I know now. I mean, this is probably funny concerns, but they were sharing that, right? Like, and it was getting passed around in those circles. And so, yeah, I mean, how can that not, right? I'm a libertarian candidate. They're enjoying it. They're agreeing with it. I mean, that obviously improves the brand, sort of affinity. I would hope that these ads are, improving. And I'm not trying to be a vermin supreme, right? I'm not trying to be this guy who's in character all the time. And then, because I can then come on and we can have the serious conversations. We can talk about policy. I'm going to make actual, statements for the people who care about that stuff. But we're also going to be doing this because this is a way that can have appeal far bigger than just being like, well, my policy would be this, this, and this, and expecting that to be, how you're going to actually get anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of curious about when you're out there running this campaign. How much of the campaign is like the Jeremy Kaufman that I see on Twitter and in the War is Gay video, and then how much of that campaign is like Jeremy Kaufman, the businessman, Jeremy Kaufman, the father, or is it really just? I mean, it's all Jeremy Kaufman in the end, I guess.
Oh, I'm certainly not in character ever in person in events or anything like that. No, I'm not doing the boot on my head act. No, that's not me. It's really just the ads, and even then, I guess it's really just the ads. Yeah. So
do you find like when you're, I don't know how much quote unquote like real campaigning you've done. Have you been doing the like on the ground, like have you been holding campaign events, that kind of thing, or has it been more of a digital campaign so far?
we have been doing on the ground events, as well as the petitioning, which ends up being like sort of one, because you end up just like talking to people and in public and meeting them and so on. And we have been doing events. We're doing an event this Saturday. We're going shooting at a private range. So we're also going to be inviting people there. I think we have an events calendar. I don't know. There's like an event like every weekend or so, where there's something going on. So yeah, that part of the campaign has actually been happening. I've been trying to so I will say, like, I've been trying to figure it out, like how do you what actually works, using that kind of entrepreneurial sense, because I've never been a politician before, right? So I've never had to think about these questions as to I have been trying to raise money. So I will say, if you're listening to this, you could donate to my campaign, jeremy4nh.com/donate. As I've been thinking about how do I spend, we've only raised, I don't know, we've raised like $20,000 so far or something. So like not some crazy amount of money, but still I have money now to deploy. What's the most effective way to deploy it? I've got an opponent who has like $7 million or something like this, right? Again, and I'm not saying it's realistic to win, but if you were going to make the most impact and you only have $20,000, what do you do? You've got to kind of think outside the box a little.
I imagine that's actually a pretty high budget for a normal Libertarian Party Senate candidate at this juncture, is it not?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully not. I guess no. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, but possibly yes. Hopefully yes for you, but yeah.
I don't. And I think actually we'll get in some more, because I haven't really made like the hardest of pushes yet. And we did the first two ads didn't even include like clear donate drives. The third ad, I actually to put in some donate links in there, and we've seen some like just like, hey, this ad, people just, hey, who's this? I don't know, someone who saw the ad and didn't choose to donate. And so that would be awesome if they end up being like something they could really do that for us. But I don't know how realistic that is.
Do you find there in New Hampshire now? I mean, I've spent some time in Florida, I guess, over the last few months, kind of been back and forth a little bit. And I know there that pretty much every time you walk in somewhere, it's like, oh, someone else is moving to Florida. You always hear about people just moving to the state. And supposedly it's like thousands of people a day are moving to the state. Are you finding a lot of people moving to New Hampshire that are not necessarily moving there because they're libertarians or moving there because they heard about the Free State Project necessarily, but moving there just to escape much worse situations, whether they're escaping a blue city like I was in, like Los Angeles, that was just one of the worst places you could be during COVID, or some other thing like that. They're just less ideological, but more just taking action to change their lives for the better. Where obviously, looking at a lot of the basics, like New Hampshire is certainly going to be an improvement over. Well, you would argue every state, but I mean, at least objectively over almost any of these, blue states.
Yeah, and we don't need to do the state by state slog thing unless you really want to. But absolutely. And in fact, because I'm like one of those nerds, I can even just like give you a couple of the like stats real quick. It was around New Hampshire's population increased by something like 10 to 15,000 people in 2021. And so, of course, like it's not like the majority of those were Free Staters, right? Like Free Staters were record, but although it's like 90% of people who are registered, it's like 90%. So like excluding independents, it's like 90% Republicans to Democrats, like 90-10
of the new people moving in,
of the delta of the new people coming in, and it's primarily people from the Northeast, right? And then with Massachusetts being the number one state. So I will say but
I'm sure they're pouring over the border.
No, but see, all of the data again says, and this is like this boring. I don't know why I'm spending time correcting this, because no one cares. But it's like it's actually not the mass people. The mass people are better than average.
That actually sort of makes sense in a way.
Why would the blue Democrats? They're not the ones. It's the Republicans that are frustrated with the gun laws and all this stuff who are the ones saying like I could pay lower taxes and just live in New Hampshire. Like they're the ones who are coming up. So.
Like people in Florida shouldn't be worried about me. They should be worried. I mean, the kind of people they're going to move for COVID reasons somewhere, especially, are not going to be the same kind of people you're worried about. You'd probably be more worried about the people that are moving from Vermont because they found a nicer lake house or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The people from Connecticut who are like, I want a lake house in New Hampshire. Yeah. I will say, dude, so Newsom ran this ad in Florida, like encouraging people, saying like, of course he still makes it about freedom, but like because it's like, don't say gay. Florida isn't free anymore, and you should move to California, dude. It's awesome.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. This is the future.
I almost want to pay for that ad to run.
Yeah,
like I want him to find those people.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in your way, in many ways, I guess you could view your campaign as like you're the Gavin Newsom for the Free State Project here. Like you're trying to go around and, perhaps just advertise why this is such an awesome place. It's a place that lets this guy who made the War is Gay video be taken seriously, depending on how you want to look at it as a Senate candidate.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, right. I think there already is kind of that perception. And I don't think it's incorrect, by the way, given all the LPNH stuff that goes on. That like, LPNH is, it's a fun affiliate. It's a very active affiliate. There's a bunch of people here. We don't hold back. We're not ashamed of. We're the libertarians, like in the bikinis or swinging our dicks at the Pride Parade, the Libertarian Pride Parade. That's like
I got the analogy.
I'm making it up as I go.
I totally get the analogy.
But I didn't ask your age, Marc, by the way, and I don't want to.
Well, you didn't tell me to. Yeah. I'm old enough to hear it. I think I'm old enough to hear about dick swinging at least. Man, that was so funny that I totally forgot what I was about to follow up with. But if you're, I guess I'll follow up with that. If you're the libertarian dick swingers, basically, and you're basically the ones that are saying like, look, this is where hardcore liberty is. This is where extreme liberty is. This is where you're going to get the real shit, basically, right? Do you see that as like? Maybe we can just talk more about how you see the Libertarian Party and the Mises Caucus generally as a vehicle, because I am curious, like, if you're messaging through the Libertarian Party and you're swinging the big libertarian dick or whatever, I'm going to let that one go. And like, do you see that affecting the way people view you that are, say, they're coming into the state of New Hampshire because they're Republicans or because they see the Republican Party as being more likely to protect them from COVID tyranny or that sort of thing? And then they see you, maybe you're, swinging the big liberty dick, but they're like, but you're not, why aren't you on our team? Why aren't you on our same side with these issues? Do you see any kind of conflict in how that can come across politically if you're, and I don't mean the same team philosophically, I just mean like you're literally in a different political team than they are?
Yeah, well, I think the attitude, I can't speak for everyone in the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire, but I think that the predominant opinion, and certainly my opinion, is that it's like about liberty over party. And so we're not interested in like, we think there are plenty of great Republicans. I think there are plenty of great Republicans. I donate to Republicans. I was just, talking up, Jason Osborne, who was like trending nationally on Twitter yesterday, who's the House Majority Leader, who's a Free Stater, who moved here from Michigan, House Majority Leader. And he tweeted that, you should, instead of buying hot dogs, it'd be healthier to buy ammunition or something. I ruined it. He said it better than that, but whatever. It was provocative, and it went nationally trending. Look at these crazy people. Plenty of people have the attitude of like not supporting people like that. Like we're very friendly towards them. So.
Do you think that do you think that what you're doing with this Senate campaign and the way you're trying to message to draw more libertarians in to either the ideas or the state, do you think that can work the way the Libertarian Party is? And I know a lot of the focus is locally there too, but the way the Mises Caucus is trying to do that with the LP National, with that like more bold messaging that you mentioned, is it the same kind of concept? Like, do you think that can work on with sort of a national political party?
I think the more people, the stronger your base is, the more you have the ability to get things done generally, like to do other coalitional stuff. And there is other stuff happening, by the way. Like people in the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire are involved in all kinds of different ways, right? We have people here who work with the Liberty reps to, write bills and introduce bills and all kinds of stuff, right? So again, because we do have a cooperative and friendly attitude towards towards anyone who's pro-liberty. Wait, I fucking lost the thread of the conversation. Wait, what question was I answering?
I'm still stuck on Liberty Dick swinging around. So.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about whether LP National can, if they can use that strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, draw people to your side, right? So like
we were kind of talking about the Liberty Dick swinging.
If they're putting it doesn't. I'm not saying dick swinging is the only way to draw people to your side. That's not that want to be clear. Like there are other ways you can draw people to your side. You can draw people to your side by writing the best policy papers and having the best. Like there are people who care about this with the bold stuff. I'm never saying only do this, only be bold, only have as big a frontier of messaging as you can that's attractive to different people. Right there, I think there's this big avenue of being bold that's untapped. There are people who want this, who aren't getting it, and you can be tapping that. I'm not saying do only that. So you should be doing all this stuff. Get as many people as you can. Get them committed to you and your cause and your brand, and have them be proud of it. Have them want to talk about being a part of it. All this stuff, and there's a huge power in that, and that can be deployed in all kinds of ways, whether that's drawing attention to things, whether that's demanding something be done about this, whether that's forcing politicians to talk about or acknowledge things, right? Even if it's, this is maybe a bad example, but because it didn't happen, and there are probably better ones, but like even just all the talk of, will Assange get pardoned or whatever? Like that's because that's a very popular issue among the sort of like libertarian populist base. There's people who talk about that all the time. Once you have that sort of like free Ross, once you have that bundle of energy of people around something, it even if it's just pandering, it starts to create a momentum towards it actually happening.
So do you think that the Libertarian Party vehicle can be used to not just draw attention to issues or draw people into the philosophy? Because I think that's all well and good if that can work. Do you think it can even work beyond that if the party is to continue to grow to the extent of actually affecting legislation at a national level, actually affecting, how far, I guess, do you, I know you're not like the Libertarian Party diehard or anything like that, so I'm not asking you to defend the whole strategy or anything. I'm just kind of curious how you see that sort of boldness, and the boldness doesn't have to be, like you said, just it doesn't have to be War is Gay videos, doesn't have to be bombastic tweets. It could also just be like the most fucking awesome position on it, and not being not trying to hide that, by taking that, not doing the Bill Weld, Gary Johnson messaging, by doing the more of the Dave Smith style messaging. Do you think that can actually influence the political scene overall, is what I'm saying, I guess, as opposed to just our scene, as opposed to just drawing more people into the scene?
Yeah. Well, but I guess I'm saying is like, that's part of how you do influence the national scene. Like the more of a base that you have, then the more that you are going to end up being talked about. And I do think that some of the people associating with the LP now, like they have more reach than people have had in the past, especially with the more and more stuff being consumed on YouTube, and of course Odysee, and things like that. But I don't know, because I will say I also like don't spend a ton of time pondering about that side of it, because it's really not like I think the more libertarians, the better. I want the LP to grow. I think the current LP, it wants to use the national campaign certainly to get more libertarians, but I also think their pragmatic approach is going to be more sort of, they want to do the coalitional issue stuff, but I think they're also trying to do localist stuff, like, obviously not all in on the Free State Project, but other ways of, can we do Liberty Pockets? Where can we do, how can we get something going? It seems like they're going to be very supportive of that idea generally.
Yeah, that's the other end, and that's the, I think, the end of things that I can see more possibilities. And if maybe in some way the Mises Caucus could be like a free state project of wherever, of the certain localities where they're already gathered together. And let's say we have this certain pocket of people that we've already identified as our Mises Caucus in this area. Then you could almost do like a mini free state project for any state. Like, come gather in this area and we can win local elections or that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's hard to. So I'll tell you, I was thinking about this today. And I wasn't even sure what to say about it. So like these states are giving out money again, like California and Massachusetts are giving out money, right? And so like we're libertarians, like we get it, and it's like it's so obvious that that when you're just giving out money, just printing money, just pumping out money, that's the cause of inflation, right? Increasing the amount of money, and then that's what they do, and then it happens. And then everyone's mad about it. And then they're like, we're just going to do it again. Right. And it's like, how is it that it's because it doesn't even seem like it's that complicated of an idea, right? It seems like this isn't some esoteric idea about, well, you have to understand like bottom up or the free market will provide. Like this seems like it's actually pretty straightforward. They made more money, so your money is worth less. Like that's like, feel like IQ, 90 or so could be getting this idea, right? It's not, you don't have to be a genius. And, we can't like get through to people on this one. Why do you think that is? I'm not trying to like put you on the spot because I was like, I don't know, because I actually don't know why. I want to make people understand it.
Well, I think there's a reason that those policies are happening in like California or in Massachusetts, because in those localities specifically, at least more so, like it's really just they think that talk of economics is like dirty white man talk. It's like this voodoo that white people talk about to continue the oppression of what have you. It's where the wokeness is so strong that yes, that should seem like a very basic, like my stepson understands it when I explain to him why prices are going up at the store. Like he's like, oh yeah, that they shouldn't do that. So he gets it. So why don't these other people get it? But I think that in those areas, it's not about getting it. It's just it's not there to be gotten in the first place, which is why like there are just some areas that like Los Angeles, like probably Boston, where there would just be no point in even trying to be involved in politics or trying to influence people because look who you're dealing with. These are the same people that are buying toilet paper for a virus, essentially.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Anyway, next question on the Jeremy Kaufman show.
I'm just thinking through my ideas,
No, I like it. No, I like it because I like when I get to answer questions on my own show because sometimes I run out of questions. But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to look at the potentiality of the Mises Caucus if you remove it from what a lot of the drama on Twitter is about, which is, I'm certainly share my fair share of guilt at times for getting involved in it. But if you just remove that so much of the talk is around whether it's Dave Smith or taking over the party or whatever, that stuff it seems like the really less important stuff to what could happen with just forget even what it's called. Forget if it's called Mises Caucus or what have you. It's a number of like-minded people that share a similar belief organized in a certain way. Now, what can those people do on the ground together? Like, and that's kind of what I hear the most about when talking to people in the Mises Caucus. It's what I hear the number one thing being the most positive benefit is the community that's been built from it and the people that are connected from it and how much they can help each other. So I do wonder if the sort of the Free State Project model is almost like a better one for the LPMC to take locally, at least in terms of how they might view success.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's and yes, that's very much in line with what with what I was trying to say earlier about like, yes, forming these networks and that and these groups. That's where the power comes from, and that becomes something where it can be it can potentially be sort of, I don't know, deployed is the wrong word, but it can have all kinds of different powerful impacts. And I think I guess with these questions, I guess part of it why I'm saying these things is even if we don't figure them out, someone might be listening, and it's like we have more than ever this ability to have an impact with social media. Like it's so easy. Like you can just like make a post. I mean, it's not so easy in the sense that it's very difficult to actually come up with the message, but it's so easy in the sense that it's like so theoretically possible right? If you compare it to at any other time in history, if you had some idea that you wanted to get across, like the viability, the theoretical possibility of like, oh, I want to communicate something to all of America when it's like 1700,
like the war is gay video in 1985. No one's going to see that because no one's going to put it. No one's going to sell it to a TV station that's going to say, oh yes, we should run this video. That sounds like a good idea. Like that's just never going to happen.
Exactly. You could have made the most viral shit. I mean, there's some possibility, like written only, I guess at that point, some print to maybe, but it's, very, not nearly the same. And so it's like, we have this potential. So whether it's on getting across ideas around inflation or whatever it might be, we have the ability to have a real impact, I think, ourselves. So
all right. Well, Jeremy, you've been on this show making the case for the Free State Project in detail. So I'll link to that episode. I think it was a few years ago when we last did that full breakdown. But it's been a couple of years of COVID stuff, and like we touched on earlier, people are moving to different states. A lot of people are moving to Florida is the one that gets all the headlines, I guess, out there. But we're not gonna break down all the reasons why it's better than every state one by one. But why don't you just make the pitch for why? Obviously, you still believe if you're a liberty-minded person and if you're already on your way out of a Los Angeles or a San Francisco, a New York City, whatever it may be, why should they be steering towards New Hampshire, in your opinion?
Well, I was invited to do a talk on this. There's 45 minutes long, so let me begin by saying that if you're interested in that, you should go find it. It's going to be on YouTube very soon and Odysee. But I actually think it's not about the policies. Like the policies are evidence of the Free State Project working, and I could go through them, and it's a long list.
There's a lot, yeah.
And we did like everything right on vaccine passports and mandates and restricting the state, and we cut taxes, we cut spending, and blah 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 blah. And the federal government can't enforce gun laws and school choice and et cetera, et cetera. But like that's all evidence of it working. But like the sort of like subjective benefit of like being here, like if you're all of a sudden paying 5% less taxes, like that's not actually going to be the biggest factor in your quality of life.
Right.
Like it's like if you get a 5%, like people's happiness is not generally decided by like a 5 or 10% raise, and so it's like that if that's the sort of on the margin policy, and under COVID some stuff was maybe bigger, but it's really the other things. It's the fact that you can have these the sort of libertarian community, the libertarian networks that are available to you, whether that's social events. Or my kids have libertarian peers, so they're learning libertarian values. Libertarian parents, I tend to see more eye to eye with them. The non-libertarian parents, you sort of just more immediately get along. You don't have to, socially, you might not have to like bite your tongue or as much or all these other things. Like I think
it's gotta be nice to not wonder if like your kids' parents like want you to stab your child with or something like that.
Right. So I think the biggest, in terms of like quality of life, in terms of like why I'm happy that I moved here, like the policies are great. They're evidence that it's working and we're achieving more political power. Like if you zoom out and all you care about is like, will the Free State Project succeed in its political ambitions, right? Then I think that the evidence is very strong. But in terms of like why you personally should move, like that's not actually why. It's the sort of what's available to you in terms of your quality of life from all of the stuff that's going on, the networks, all these things, raising a family, that I think are really like the subjective, selfish reason that an individual should move, like today. And so I really think what people should do is just visit. Porkfest is a great starter event, although it just happened. We're going to have a bunch of events in the fall. We're going to have tours and shit, but you can come anytime. fsp.org/visit. We have a real human being who will just like talk to you and help you plan a trip, because there's stuff going on all the time.
It's not not an FSP chatbot.
It's not a chatbot. Yeah. No, because there's like, there's like the libertarian equivalent of everything. Like there's like, there's like a libertarian mountain bike gang now, and all the Free State mountain bikers, have their regular mountain bike meet. So it's like, and almost anything that you're into. Dan Smott's put footage of there's footage of me playing Magic the Gathering in Dan Smott's Porkfest videos. So now that secret's out, and I can the world can know. So there's
I was playing in like 1995 or something like that, but I don't know where my cards are anymore, sadly.
So there's like that's the kind of thing. It's like you can come and like there's so many of us here that there's like some sort of equivalent group for like everything. And so you can, come and meet people and do stuff like that. And I think that's like the way better way than like, don't do all this online research. Like come for, just come for a visit, whether it's a couple days, a week, whatever. Just kind of come check it out.
Well, the benefit to rushing to move to New Hampshire is if you hurry, you could actually vote for Jeremy Kaufman potentially.
Yes.
If you like. So why don't you just wrap up letting everybody know exactly how I think you mentioned the website earlier, but how all the ways they can help you out, help the campaign, and plug away and anything else you got.
So number one thing you could do is that if you could donate, even just $10 or $20 goes a really long way. If you like the messaging that I've been putting out, I'd really appreciate it. jeremy4nh.com/donate. You can also join the campaign Discord from the website or get involved in other ways through there. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Kaufman, and you can find me on Odysee at KAUFFJ. Those are
Jeremy,
the places.
thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Marc.
Great work. Keep on roaring, man.
Bye.
Take care.
Live long and live free and live free and live free and live free.